Hello world, how are you? We have some Q&A to do. I hope you're doing fine, cause it's Q&A time again. Hello world, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing great. If not, as always, I hope it gets better for you. So welcome to another Friday Night Live Q&A where you can ask the community and I questions about keeping freshwater aquarium fish, shrimp, and or plants. There's lots of ways to do it, lots of fish and plants and shrimp out there. So if you're looking for that info, this is the place. And thank you, Candy, for being on the ball, telling me to hop on live chat. She already knows. That's why she is one of the world's best mods, if not the world's best mod. So hello everybody in the chat, glad to see you all in here. Hello, hello, hello. And a howdy. So glad to see you all in here. Thank you all for joining me. Let's see if we can get closer to this barb tank. Did clean it up for you guys a little bit so we can see in there, but we got so much reflection. Oh well. I kind of like the lights being open. I did think about putting some of that, what is that called? That underlayment. It's a geotextile fabric, black fabric that you could just easily staple up there. And you'd be able to still feed in easily without having to lift up a lid or something if you were to do like a wood door there. But I kind of like it being bright in here. Alright, so I'm starting betta breeding. Any tips? So best thing to do is keep them warm and try to breed them in shallow water. It's easier that way. Sometimes it can be really tough because there's a lot of aggression between those fish. When breeding, sometimes the male can be mean, sometimes the female can be mean. It's really hard to tell with those bettas. But drop the water level down. You can kind of, some people will hold the female in a cup for maybe a day or two or in a bigger container. I don't really like to do that. Myself, I usually just put them in together and let them go for it, or keep them in jars next to each other for maybe a week or two, and then that way they kind of get all riled up, and then by the time they do meet each other, they're just ready to go. When I say warm, that's in the mid 80s is where you're going to want it, and soft acidic water is more helpful for sure. And after that, you should see them like wiggle up and curve and wrap into each other. That's how you know they're going to be breeding, and when they make a bubble nest. And the male will pick up the eggs and put it in the bubble nest. Then you're going to want to take the female out, and then you'll end up wanting to either take the eggs out or the male out. Or the fry. Depends on how old the bubble nest is. It doesn't take them long to hatch. And I do have a separate video on how to breed them in my breeding fish playlist. So if you want to check that out, I do have it where it shows them actually breeding in action, how they actually look and everything. So if you want to check that out, that could help. Dana Harris, thank you so much for becoming a member and for supporting LRB. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Daniken Aquatics, thank you. Throwing down a $20 super chat. Holy cap. Ken says, 240 fun, bro. Hope all is well with you, my friend. Well, thank you. I am going to have to replace this. Now, I was thinking, and some of you guys may have seen my video about what happened here. I was thinking about doing frogs and stuff in there, but I don't know. I know if I end up turning that into a terrarium with frogs or something, it'll end up being that way too long. And I had a whole idea for that whole area that I kind of really need for this fish room, because I'm trying to organize my actual fish rooms as far as what's doing what. And in here I want it to be like the main fish breeding area, not really frogs, even though I would love to put that somewhere and put some frogs in it, but I do not know where to put that. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But Daniken Aquatics, thank you so much for the support again. I appreciate you, brother. Hope all's good with you in Portland. Let's see. Oh, I ate too much dinner. Chris Trapp says, what's up, LRB? Did you participate in the $1 per sale? So actually, no, I did not this time. I did not participate. Just because there's not really any space I could put any tanks in. Actually, if I get any more tanks, they're probably going to be from custom aquariums. Just because, I don't know. Like the $1 tanks are nice. You can't drill them out or anything. That's the only downfall with them. And they have been lasting me well for the most part, the $1 But I want some real good built tanks, big tanks, and certain tanks to do certain things. Because with the standard sizes, you can't quite hit like the target of what you would want to use it for. Which you guys will be seeing all that stuff coming up here soon. I've already got 3 tanks ordered with custom aquariums right now that I cannot wait to show you guys. Guillermo Escobar, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. And the support says, hey Lucas, my Bose mani are eggs keep fungusing. How can I prevent that? Thanks, love the channel. So if they keep fungusing and you got them in a natural situation to where you're not putting them in another cup, small cup or container like that, but you got them in a tank or something with aquarium water, that good beneficial bacteria and all that. If they're fungusing, they could be infertile. If you think it may be fungus and not infertility, you could always try using catappa leaves. Catappa leaves or peat moss will help you with a natural fungicide that will keep eggs clean and clear from certain kinds of funguses. So I hope that helps you, Guillermo. And thank you so much for the support. Like, I could not do this without you guys. You guys definitely make this possible. Oh, and I did put more shrimp up for everybody who was looking for shrimp on LRB Aquatics. I know they've been out for quite some times. Thomas Glazer says, how many mushrooms would you recommend for a 33 long? How many mushrooms? I actually found a mushroom on a piece of small driftwood today in one of my 20-gallon highs at my QT. Tiny, itty bitty mushrooms. I got a video of it. If you guys saw it on the story that I had here on YouTube, then you may know what I'm talking about, which was neat. But I am not sure if that's a typo or what. Let me know, Thomas. Lars K, thank you, brother, again for the $10 super chat. Always support me, bro. I appreciate you. Didn't even have anything to say, but just helping me out. I appreciate you, Lars. Hope everything's good with you. Watch your video on the broken tank. Is it fixable? I don't really think so. So with that black trim and being on the bottom where it is, it's gonna be, if it is fixable, it's gonna be way more work than what I would want to put into it, time-wise, man-wise. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I may offer it up because somebody could probably still use it as a snake tank or turtle tank. Maybe not a turtle tank, but lizard tank. I thought about just putting some flex seal or flex tape on the bottom and doing a little paludarium. So what I would do is I'd push all this back so it like creates a mountain up slope and push some of it back this way too, so I can have some water over here and do like dart frogs and plane it all out. But I can't do that because I need that space for somewhere. I did think about putting it in the middle of the room here, but I got an idea for that too here. Later down the road, I don't know. It's so tempting. Those frogs and terrariums are cool. I don't know if some of you guys watch Serpa Design, but I'm a big fan of his. And his fish room, or well, animal room, whatever you want to call it. And I've always wanted to do a big terrarium, paludarium thingamabobber. Rangers fans, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says, any fish room tours coming in the near future, whether yours or other people's fish rooms. So I should probably really do one of mine, since it got neglected big time in the last few months due to the pond build, and just kind of give you guys an insight of like what it looks like, what happens with these no filter tanks when you go no maintenance, no water changes. And they're all different too, and kind of discuss with you guys what's going on with them. Plus I'm about to change a lot here, so I would like to get my fish room tour going here soon. As far as other people's, I do have a few in mind, but it's probably going to be a little while till I travel. That will probably be more in the winter time. It's kind of like a wintertime thing to do, because like, I mean, good weather is good for building stuff, and you know, we get really hard winters here, so it's better to do that inside stuff then. So I'll have more fish room tours here this winter. But I can probably, and will probably do mine here within a month or so, if not sooner. We'll see. But thank you for the support. I appreciate you, Rangers fans. And sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions. I do try my best to get to them all. Obviously, that's not possible, but I do try my best here. Dana Harris, thank you so much for the huge super chat. Throwing 20 bucks. The 19.99 says, "Hey Lucas, sorry about the 240. You handled it with class, brother." Well, thank you, Dana. Well, I would say luckily, but it's not really luckily. But I would say that I've gained some experience through time here in this fish room dealing with water and leaks. And I kind of knew it was going to happen at some point. And I knew it wasn't going to be fun when it did happen. But what are you going to do? You can't curl up and whine about it, or that's not going to get anything done. Now, it kind of just, for me, since I was going to have to move it at some point anyways, it's just propelling that project that I had for the future forward anyways. So it's all on how you look at it. Life is all about perspective, and perspective can change just like that within a flash, which can just change your life, period. Just perspective. But Dana, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, I could never thank you guys enough. I really couldn't. You guys are so awesome to me. You can't buy a new rim, says Chubby Guppy, question mark. So yeah, you can buy, I believe you can buy those rims to it. But there's a lot of silicone work. So it is silicone on the bottom. It's got this glass plate up there. It's got small glass plates up there. So I don't know. It would be a lot of work. It's already kind of scratched up. I mean, they're not cheap tanks, so it is tempting for sure. But that's a 240. So 240 is around $2,200. That's before tax and everything. Now, if you get a 210, granted it's 2 feet shorter, but it's only 30 gallons. That's only 1,100 bucks. I can get a 210 for 1,100 bucks, which isn't bad. It's quite a bit of money. But the silicone, that, especially on the bottom of it, as heavy as that glass is, I don't know. It's quite the mission. It would be cool if I did, and I mean, I could videotape it all, but I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I gotta think about time, because time is definitely of the essence, always here. When you have so many tanks to take care of, so many fish to take care of. Hey Lucas, any other info for Pontomagitan Gaia you have for sale? So it's really easy to keep. Really hardy, soft water, hard water, really doesn't care. Low to moderate light, can do highlight. It's a fast to moderate grower. You could either float it or you can plant it. And it can really take over tanks if you lit it. I've got a 75 gallon that is just loaded with it. My Exodon Paradoxus are actually in that tank and can't even see them. I gotta do something with this. But really cool plant. It shoots up, so it's a stem plant, and it does send runners when it propagates. But it'll shoot up a stem, and then it like comes up kind of like corn or wheat would. with the leaves, which gives a really unique texture to the aquarium compared to a lot of other types of normal stem plants. All right, scrolling. How much is a good price for 120 with a stand? I really don't know. I couldn't tell you. I haven't tried to price that. The other Tiffany says, but if anybody in the chat knows, please help him out. Could you take the broken 240 and set it up for a vertical terrarium, smaller footprint? Oh my God. Other Tiffany, what are you doing to me? Doesn't that sound cool? Oh, you could grow like a tree in there. Oh my God, that's a great idea. But where? That's gonna go from floor to ceiling too. Interesting. I kind of like that idea. And with that, oh yeah, because I'll have 2 feet extra, I could just prop it over on the side there. Because I'd have 2 feet extra if I put a 210 there. And just go ceiling to bottom with it. Oh my God, that's a beautiful idea. Put a little fruit tree in there. Bonsai it or something. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Oh, you guys are the best. Let's see, what's your favorite fish? Mine is honey gourami. Gourami boy, I wish I could find a favorite fish. I'm actually, no, I don't say I wish I could find a favorite fish. I can't tell you a favorite fish because I couldn't tell you a favorite type because there's so many awesome fish out there. It would be really weird if I did find a favorite fish. Like the blue galaris for a long time was my favorite fish. But now there's just so many cool fish out there like the panda garas and the mascara barbs, the hill trouts, the blue stifidens. I mean, even ember tetras, chili rasboras. How do you pick one over the other? Like even the little, I love those hatchet fish. That's actually one fish I've really always loved that I've never actually kept because they need tops. So, I don't know, maybe one day I will. What is the shrimp shirt? That is actually Carolina Aquarium Workshop. That's the Raleigh Aquarium Society shirt. That was the last show I was at, actually. Or convention. I talked at. Patrick Dalton says, have you ever used the grow lights they sell at Home Depot and other big box stores for aquarium lights? So if you're just talking about like standard shop lights or something, I do have lots of types of those. I try to stick around the 6500K and the 4,000, 5,000 lumen value when it comes to aquariums. Now, if you're gonna go with like 10 gallons or 20 longs, I would stick around the 3,000 lumen when it comes to the power of those types of lights. Just because of the shallow and the depth. If you're over like a 48 or a 20 high or a 30 gallon or something like that, I'd do more of the 4. Then the bigger tanks, if you can find them in 5, I would go for that 5,000 lumens. 6500K though, that's my favorite Kelvin. But I am very partial to blue fish, so the blue definitely helps bring out, that blue spectrum definitely helps bring out the blue color on the fish. LRB, tips on breeding peacock gungans. So, peacock gungans, they like to breed in tiny little spaces, like itty bitty cracks and crevices, so rock piles are good. Driftwood, if there's like pinned up against a glass somewhere. There was something weird that I bred one of those out in the other day. I know a lot of people have tried the PVC, but sometimes they don't take to that as well. But a natural rock pile, they'll go off, they'll stay in it for quite some time. Sometimes you can position a cave just right too, or a crevice to where you could actually see in it. But once they breed out there, the male and female go live in the cave for a while. Then they'll lay the eggs pretty much on the top or near the side, and it'll be a big old patch of eggs, and then the male will guard them for the longest time. I can't remember how long they guard them for. It's been quite some time since I've bred them. but they'll guard them, and then eventually they'll start hatching. But the hardest part is the parents often eat their babies. So you have to time it. I think it's like 5 days or something. SC Aquatics, well, I hope that helps. SC Aquatics, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. It says, been busy. What you feed mascara barbs? Oh, you already know, SC Aquatics. Thank you for the $2 super chat, and definitely those tetracolor tropical granules, which at the end of the show, we'll throw some in there for them and watch them hit, which is always fun. Crystal red shrimp times tangerine tiger is question mark, anyone know? So that's a tybee. I believe that's what they call tybees. You can mix them, I believe. If I'm right. If I'm wrong, let me know. Disaster blaster, do you heat the whole room? I do, actually. I heat the whole house and room accordingly. With the one here in the garage, it's kind of up to Mother Nature right now. It's been 84 in here for quite some time. Now that the 240's gone down, it used to be like 86 because that 240 with the discus was always so hot. But just one of these 75 gallons even works like a natural radiator heater. But it is preferred. If like most fish rooms are best kept around 72, 76 degrees. That's where I get most of my breeding from. It is too hot in here for most of these fish. But in the wild, they're used to it. Let's see, but for breeding wise. Vincent Krish says my tap water pH 7.8 and soft. Snails growing have very transparent shells. Any advice for improving the water for snails and shrimp? As long as you're not seeing cavities, shouldn't be too much of issues. Some ram's horn snails are naturally translucent with their shell, so that could all be the source of the snail that you have and the type that you have. 7.8 is, I mean, on the more alkalitic side of the pH scale. But with that soft water, it could definitely eat that pH down. So, you can add calcium in those. There's all kinds of ways to do that, either with crushed coral. There's some calcium rocks you can buy, or you can buy powder and add that. James Stone, thank you so much for the $5, New Zealand style. Appreciate you, James Stone. Appreciate you. Love to go to New Zealand sometime. Speaking of rainbow fish, New Zealand has got all the good rainbow fish. If you put different colored shrimp together, what do you end up with? You end up with some really cool stuff. I actually sell a lot of coals. One of my #1 sellers are my coals, because you always get like blue shrimp, orange shrimp. Well, not always orange shrimp. Orange is probably the less color. But sometimes you get blue and orange shrimp mixed together. Like, you can make all kinds of different stuff with shrimp, and it goes pretty much with the color scale. So the whole colored code with like red and blue make purple. That's how it works. And you can make lots. I've created all kinds. If I had more time, and actually hopefully here in like the next year, when I get everything more organized tank wise, I should be able to start working on more of these projects. It's hard for me to pick some of my coals though, because man, there's some cool stuff that come from them. Really cool stuff. And I get my best greens out of it too. Ty Horton, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Says, thanks for being an inspiration for natural aquarium setups. Do you have any experience or interest in Blackwater botanical style tanks? Ty, yes, definitely. Thank you so much for the huge super chat, throwing down $20. Excuse me. But Blackwater tanks, I actually have a video back in the day when I had a Blackwater tank going. It's like once I first started getting on YouTube, the biggest problem I had with it was keeping the actual Blackwater to keep that brown tannin tea color. I went as far as getting a turkey fryer, and getting a bunch of Malaysian driftwood and just boiling it up and making my own like tannin mix that I could just add it into the tank whenever I wanted that look. Now, if you're constantly adding in leaves, the problem is you got to do your water changes. If I were to do it again, I wouldn't do very many water changes. The problem with adding my own tannins in the way I did is it just kept adding organics, so it just turned it into an algae mess because of the compounds that were going in were just perfect food for algae. So you could, if you did it with a filter, it could be a little easier too, because you could use peat moss and actually put that into like a media bag or even your Indian almond leaves. But you would want to leave your carbon out. That way you could still get that tea color. It's just really hard to keep that tannin look. You can do it. It's just, it's going to be a low light tank. It's hard to do planted, let me put it that way. If you do real low light, it's easy to do. But if you're trying to do it where it's planted and you want light on it, that's when it becomes tricky. Low light, Malaysian driftwood, leaves, little maintenance to hardly any water changes, like just top offs really. And I would keep it untopped or open if you have a fish that doesn't jump, just because that evaporation and the adding of new fresh RO water will help be more of like a natural water change or rain for it. So I hope that helps if you decide to go towards that. It's definitely fun to go down that rabbit hole and try to play around with that, because there are some really neat fish that do absolutely amazing in blackwater tanks. Sparkling gourami for one. I had a peat moss tank where I just made it out of peat moss and had a clay pot, put it on the side. Sparkling gouramis will go in there, make a bubble nest and make eggs and stuff like that. Total blackwater because it was just peat moss substrate. The only problem with the peat moss substrate is just the fact that your fish will just dart into it. So once the fish goes in there, you pretty much got to destroy the tank just to catch the fish out, which can be a big problem. Especially when you're trying to keep your babies safe, or the babies that they bred out safe, and from being all swooped around. Okay, super speed scroll here. Make sure I didn't miss anything I wasn't supposed to, and sorry if I'm missing any of your guys' questions. I cannot keep up. DJ Cichlid, what kinds of fish can produce outdoors year-round? Location is Oklahoma, cool winters and hot summers. Thanks. Year-round in Oklahoma, since you're gonna have cold winters, I don't know. You can keep white clouds out there, but I don't really have a whole lot of success with mine outdoors to where I've just got an abundant amount of fish or anything. So right now, as far as I know, nothing off the top of my head year round. Anybody else has a suggestion for them? I would love to hear it. Johnny Knuckles says, can't seem to grow any type of moss in my aquariums. Any suggestions? Either your light is not strong enough, or it's too strong, or your water's too soft, not enough mineralization. I'm not sure what's happening to your moss, or you're getting them from a bad source. That's all I can think of. Danikin Aquatics, thank you again for the support and super chat. Throwing down $10, says, come back to Oregon, you have to check on the Blue Dreams. Oh, definitely, bro. I really would love to come back to Oregon and check out the Blue Dreams. And all those tanks you have. Danikin Aquatics has like 8 fish rooms. He's crazy like I am. He's a total aquarium hoarder. But thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Leslie Ram, throwing down the $4.99 super chat, says, message retracted. Oh no, super chatted and retracted the message. Interesting. I appreciate the super chat. I will look out for your name if you're trying to write something else. Barry Heaver's Fish Room, thank you so much for the support and the $5 super chat. Glad to see you in here, Barry Heaver. Once again, West Coast Aquatics says, should I put Daniel fry in a shrimp tank so they get natural live food, or will it be a problem later on? Now, I've never actually done Daniel fry in a shrimp tank because they like to hang on to the glass. They like to hang on to the bottom of the tank. So shrimp can be more than likely to eat the fry of a celestial or a Daniel fry. So I haven't actually tried that. But I would think that once they get to a certain size, and that's only for like the first few days that they're like that. Once they start getting into the mid-water, then it shouldn't matter. But it would be those first initial days I would worry about. But besides that, I would put them into a shrimp tank. Okay. How many shrimp do you recommend to start a colony? All depends on the size of your tank. At least 10 to get some depth within the genetic pool. So of course, the more you get, the deeper your gene pool is going to be. And you can never get too many. Old Fish Guy says, probably already addressed it, but did you get your tank fixed? No, I did not, and I don't think I'm gonna end up fixing it. It's just too much work. It's in a really bad spot, and it's chipped, and the trim's busted. It's got too many things going against it. But other Tiffany had a great idea earlier, and she mentioned to stick it up on its side. So it ended up going up against that wall, and I'd still have 2 feet left for 210 down here. And that would be totally stellar. I could get down with that. But it's gonna be hard to move and put on its side like that. At least I'll put the busted part up towards the top, and that won't matter. Should hold water. Could always put a liner into it if I'm worried. It's already got that little lip of glass. Ooh. Okay, I'm all thinking about that. Chocolate gouramis and their relatives love black water as well as the licorice gourami and live in extremely black water, dark black water, yes. And it's cool when you get like those really bright fish like that, like the cardinals, especially neon tetras, the Similins tetra, those green neons. All those ember tetras, they really pop when you get them with that contrast of that black water. Oh my God. And those licorice gouramis, those are definitely a sight to see. Barry Heaver's Fish Room says, when is the best time to sex guppy fry? I think they've got to be at least like yay big. Pretty much whenever you can start seeing gonopodiums or gonopodiums. And you can usually tell just by like the chunkier females. It doesn't take very big, which I'm not saying a time frame because that all depends on how often you're doing water changes, how fast you're growing them, what you're feeding them, which can take a month or so, a couple months, time-wise. Sand Life says, anyone in the chat have a mature female tiger or albino Oscar for sale? That's Sand Life. John South said no. GRB Aquatics says, have you calculated cost of heating your outside pond? So, not really. I know it does add about $100 a month, I guess, during the winter time. So I guess, yeah. It's about $100 a month during the winter time. Greg B, thank you so much for the support. Throwing down a $7 CA. That's Canadian, eh? Appreciate you, Greg. Beautiful Pleco picture. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. You guys are so awesome with the support. What is a good light to grow simple plants in a shrimp tank? You can get just a regular shop lights. That's what most of these lights are, just regular shop lights. If you're, depends on the tank and depth, depends on how much power. I was just talking about this earlier. I go around 3,000 lumens power if it's a 20-gallon long or 10-gallon. Above that, if it goes 20 high, around that depth, or a 30-gallon, I would go around 4,000 lumens. 75 gallons or above, I'll go around 5,000 lumens. 6,500 Kelvin tips, my favorite. Cheap LED lights you can get off eBay too, work pretty well. But it's hard to beat those shop lights for the price you can get them. Night Rider says, hey LRB, how is the mini excavator going? Are you licensed pro yet? Oh, you gotta have a license for those things? I would say I definitely learned some skills while I was doing that, and it was a lot of fun. I'll probably actually be renting it again to dig out another pond section because I just can't help myself. Ponds are like Pringles. Once you pop, can't stop. Gotta get them ponds going. So much cheaper to do it yourself too. Once again, sorry if I'm missing those questions. Trying to go cross-eyed here for you guys. Dustin Olney says, how much TDS for a dust of barbs and tiger barbs when you remineralize RO? So barbs really aren't that picky when it comes to mineralization. Hard water, soft water. I would probably keep them more towards the neutral area, which is 200. That way it's better for your plants too. Anyway, anytime that you can stay towards the softer acidic side, if it's a planted aquarium, you can get better growth from your plants from that, and your fish, most of them do not mind, as long as there's some mineralization in there for them, for their osmoregulation, something like that. Have you ever bred purple shrimp? Patrick Dalton. I have. I have bred lots of purple shrimp. Blue and red will make purple shrimp. Which I am the first one to tell the world that. Because most people will just hold that secret to their hearts. Well, you guys are awesome and you guys treat me well. So it's hard for me to keep secrets from you guys. Like, I gotta give you guys the tidbits. Where in Utah are you? Oh, that's Sand Life. I was about to say, I'm not in Utah. Hi, I have a 20 long and I'm getting a lot of hair algae. What do you recommend? I've been doing water changes every week and it's just everywhere, even on my substrate. So, got a lot of hair algae. You got either way too much light powering down on your substrate, your rocks and driftwood, which are just magnets for hair algae. Or you have too many nutrients in there, so too much fertilizers, and doing lots of water changes should help with the buildup of excess nutrients. So it's really leaning me towards your power of light. And being at 20 long, they're not very deep, so often we'll get those real strong lights, gonna grow these highlight plants or whatever, blah blah blah, try to do that. And it just really bites us because the power of that light is just too much for the plants to uptake and grow towards. Now you can either add a bunch of plants to help fight that, or maybe a floating plant, or raise your light up, or you can get a different light. And it goes on with that whole lumen power I was talking about. I want to go more than 3,000 lumens on a 20-gallon long. And another thing it could be too is whenever your plants, say if it was doing good and it just turned into a jungle, everything was looking great, and then all of a sudden hair algae started taking over. Well, if your plants don't have any more space to grow into, they'll start consuming each other, and then hair algae will get in the middle of that. And then the next thing you know, you got hair algae intertwined with all of it, because hair algae will say, screw all you other plants, I win this tank in the long run. It happens every time. Every time. So I hope that helps you guys. That was a good question. That covered quite a bit. Barry Heaver's Fish Room says, I'm looking to rent a mini. What is reasonable, or what OT reasonable? So I actually rented mine from Home Depot. There are a few other rental places. Herc's is one that's around me, and they all stay around the same standard price. It was $800 for a week, and what was it for a month? I can't remember. I tried not to remember because it was pricey. It was like $2,000, I think, for a month, which is a good deal because you pretty much paying for 2 weeks almost. And then I think for a day it was a couple hundred, and for like 2 days it was like 400. So the longer you kept it, the better deal you got. And it was just a little Kubota, and I definitely pushed that thing. I want to see LRB breeding freshwater stingrays. Wish I had a big enough tank. It is cool how stingrays, you can see the pups and stuff in them when the mamas are fertile. Oh, hold on, I'm pushing stuff. Did I miss a... Oh, no I didn't, okay. Scrolling. Corey from Aquarium Co-op says that sand will compress and plants will have a hard time growing in it because their roots will have a hard time pressing through. Well, sand's one of my favorite substrates for plants. And they can actually have a really natural symbiotic relationship to the point where on a lot of the roots, the sand will actually connect to them. And it depends, there's a lot of different sands out there too. How many zebra danios do I need for them to be happy and to school? I mean, always more the merrier with them, but I mean, you get 4 of them, 3 to 4 to more, they should be happy enough. Which air pump would you recommend me for a 30-gallon freshwater? I don't know, I don't use air pumps. Not that air pumps or filters are bad, I just don't prefer them. I love my peaceful, quiet fish room. There's actually an air pump still going in my office right now, and that thing is so loud. So loud. The only reason why I haven't turned it off is I'm afraid the siphon will come down and the water will get everywhere if I unplug it. So not until I pull all my air lines will I take that one out. Okay, I thought I missed a super chat. Thank you, Candy. Or no, I just haven't got to it yet. I need to catch up on this chat. So sorry if I'm missing some of you guys' questions. I'm going to try to keep it relevant for the ones that are still in here. Igor Anonymous, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Your support again, Igor. It says, I have to mother-in-law sit next week. Can you swing by and feed my fish? Igor, I'm on it. I wish. I'm surprised fish stores haven't put out like a service for that. I know some like small mom and pops, I have heard to where they can do a service like that for you. But I've gone as long as a week without feeding my whole fish room. Where I've taken a vacation, didn't have anybody come over and feed anything. And my tanks actually look better than they ever had because the fish were eating all the algae up for me. They were trimming up my plants. And it actually worked real well by not feeding them for a week. But if you do get somebody that you can trust to feed them, you can't always put them into like pre-dose containers. So you always have like a certain amount that you feed your fish. Put it in a container, be like, just feed them one of these. Be sure to tell whoever's doing it, even if they look super hungry, to not feed them more. Because that happens so much to so many keepers to where they'll have somebody come and feed, and it's that dreaded nightmare of just food everywhere and fish floating because of excess feeding. And breaking them down in containers for the person helps alleviate that. Sand Life says, I am curious if you know of any cichlid species that would be fine coexisting with crayfish. No, crayfish are crazy. Crayfish are crazy, and cichlids are crazy enough to take them out as well, or be too snoopy and get eaten by a crayfish. So the small ones would probably get eaten by the crayfish. The big ones would probably eat the crayfish. So I would say no. And Igor, good luck with your mother-in-law during the week. I hope she's cool. John, that's terrible. Hamid Inagamov, wow, I hope I got that right. How many zebra danios do I need for them to be happy into school? I answered that one. Was that a different person that asked me that earlier? You guys all got danios? I love danios. Danios are fun. I got some long fins out in the tubs outside. Scrolling. Patrick Dalton says, do you have any tips for breeding for the pearl scale or platinum look? I want to get platinum rummy nose tetras. Hard to find them from a fish store or personal collection. So, if you are trying to get the platinum rummy nose, the best way to do that is start with the genetics and get all the platinum rummy nose you can to be able to do so. And if you can do some from one source and some from another source, that's possibly better, but not entirely true. It would just help with the deepening of the genetic pool, but it may be harder to lock in that mutation. But yeah, the best way to start that stuff is start off with good genetics. That way it buys you time. Because when you're buying a good strain and lineage of things, for instance, my Blue Dream Supreme line that's super straight, the reason why they are $8, which is a very reasonable price for a Blue Dream, especially for what they are, is that there was a lot of time put into those shrimp to get all those excess mutations out to make it more of a solid line. So it saves so many people a lot of time to continue to breed these out with great results due to starting with great genetics and lineage and time that was already taken out. And time is the essence. That's something that you can't get back. You can't pay for it sometimes, but you can't get it back. Casval Deacon says, Corey says sand will compact, blah, blah, blah. How do you get your plants to grow so well in sand? I don't know, they just like it. Like, look out in nature, a lot of the silt, or a lot of the rivers and creeks and riverbeds, they're just mostly silt and sand. And that's where a lot of the plants come from and how they grow out. I don't know, they just do. All right, I am on live chat, Joel G. Thank you, brother. Pew Fishstone says, aquarium hoarder from Clarksville, Tennessee. That's awesome. I actually used to live in Tennessee, Clarksville. Ever use limestone? I went to elementary school there. Ever use limestone to get your KH up to hold your pH? Tap water is KH 80 ppm and 6.2 pH. Can't get pH and KH off the low numbers. So airlines can help raise that pH. I don't really go off of pH too much, just mostly TDS, because pH can be a goose chase, because there's so many things that can influence it, just like an airline, which can give you misreadings. And it's easier to tell if you have soft or alkalytic water if you're using a TDS meter and running your numbers that way. But you can use limestone to raise that up for sure. You can use crushed coral, really, or like the GH boosters, which is pretty much calcium powder. But I haven't had to deal with that too much because we've got super hard water here where I'm from. Ours comes out of the tap around 350, and you can grow stalactites from your faucets with our mineralization. So I usually just blend it. I'm starting to run most of the tanks on a softer side just for the plants though. Casval Deacon says, how do you avoid diatom algae with so low flow? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Fish, I guess. Plants. Mother Nature. Mother Nature does it, really. I'm still trying to figure all this out. There's a lot to still figure out that we don't know. We like to think we know it all. But there is still a lot that Mother Nature has to teach us. And the thing about it, too, and this kind of goes with the whole atomic, like, molecular structure. We see new layers. Oh, I kicked myself off. So what I was saying, the more we peel things back, the more we see new layers of things as we keep evolving here. Let's see. Scrolling. I'm gonna go all the way down to the bottom here. Boom. So if you got a question, throw it out now. If it's dire, because we're only 51 minutes, and that means there's only like 9 minutes left. Anonymous Aquarium Lover says, how do you stop sulfur buildup in sand substrate? So, I mean, I've had it, especially in this 240, where I've had buildup or methane, sulfur, whatever you want to call it. There was air bubbles in there. I'd poke it, it'd come up, and it'd smell like a fart. But I've never had it been a problem with any of these. No tank, no filter. It's just Mother Nature. It's what she does. It's part of it. A lot of people fear it or blame it on things. Many of us will mess things up in our aquariums and blame it on a sulfur bubble fart from the substrate, which that's not the case. It's more than likely you're messing with it too much. Human error caused most of the problems with fish tanks. That's what I've learned out of all this. So I don't know how I keep the diatoms out. I don't know how that sulfur doesn't mess with things. But I do know if I were to mess with it, it would cause problems. But if I don't mess with it, then I don't get problems. It's Mother Nature. It's Mother Nature. And my boy Bobby Boy, Steam Fun Aquatics, throwing down a $5 super chat, says, do you think they have different aquarium plants in the hollow earth? I don't know, but they probably need to get some of these shop lights, LED shop lights. That's pretty funny. Hollow earth, huh? I did hear that there was something somewhere that's like recently in the news that they are talking about that. It's kind of weird. You never know. 2020, you never know. With this wild world, it is crazy out there. But Bob, I appreciate the support. Great seeing you in here. And I was actually just watching one of your videos today with the water fountain. So I got one of those in my pond in the backyard, and those things do work really well, those little solar powered pond fountains. Grant Cook, thank you so much for throwing down the $5 super chat and your support. Glad to see you again in here, Grant. Says, hey LRB, glad to catch you live. Any update on the Fishocracy mini-series, or how's that tank going? Stay cool, my friend. So, once I changed the light, it was kind of hard for me to film it from where I was, and it kind of threw me off my rhythm of the Fishocracy. That, and I added the third wheel in here, and once the third wheel got in here, the third killifish, everything kind of seemed to level out. So the killifish started messing with each other. They balanced each other out. There wasn't as many teams, so the whole wars just kind of simmered down, and now everybody's pretty much at peace. So it's not as exciting as the Fishocracy was at the time. That Fishocracy was really interesting because it just shows the drama that can happen within the community of fish regardless of their natural demeanor of what is said on their profile, because they're all peaceful fish, especially like rainbow fish. But then you just had clans that just did not get along for some reason. And you had like the killifish manipulators that were messing everything up. But now that their focuses are different, like the whole dynamic's different. Really weird. But cool of you to bring up, Grant. And thank you so much for the super chat and the support. I appreciate you. Ooh, I got this tank clean too. We ain't even looked in here to get this sprayed. Put some plants down there, some of the 240 plants. There's some really neat fish in here. Let's see. That's one of my favorites, the sea alani. This glare though. Little Synodonus. Alright. Did you have your A+ award-winning super duper fantastically beautiful, gorgeous, one-of-kind, immaculate blue shrimp available for sale right now? Ask Paul. So actually I do. They are back on the website now. So if you guys were looking for them, Aquatics.com. I appreciate that, Candy, for posting up my link. Chris Trapp says, what's your favorite inler? Really hard to pick a favorite inler. I've got some really rare ones right above me though. These are the Campoma blue snake inler. These are actually wild types, so they have like the snake skin, but they have like this blue color as well. If I can get them up here. Boom. These guys are really nice. I'm always a sucker for blue shrimp. I got the Santa Marias over here too. I guess those go for like $100 a pair or more. These guys are really cool. But really hard to pick a favorite. Let's see. Aquatic Ma throwing down a $5 super chat. Great to see you in here. Aquatic Ma says, what's up, Lucas? You know, doing the fish thing. You know how that goes. I hope everything's going good with you. And yeah, thank you so much for the support, and glad seeing you in here. So I'd say it's almost time to feed these guys. Show your purple shrimp, please. Probably don't have any purple shrimp in here left because I threw rainbow fish in their tank. I know, I'm a little crazy. I actually gave a lot of the purple shrimp away before I threw these guys in here though too. I'm looking, I'm not seeing any shrimp. They're really good hiders now, considering they don't have a whole lot of plants in there. And you got some beefy rainbows in there. But through my coal shrimp, most people got them through my coal shrimp. And I probably have some in my other fish room where all the shrimp are. The only problem is we can't really go over there without killing the internet. Or I would. Boop, boop, boop. But like I said, if you guys want to make them blue and red, like take a fire red shrimp. Don't just take a cherry shrimp. You're going to want like a fire red shrimp. You're going to want like a blue dream shrimp. That way you can get that dark red and that dark blue to make that deep purple. Let's see. Do you know how to get rid of seed shrimp from a shrimp tank? Asking for a friend. So I don't want to worry about the seed shrimp too much. Hard to really rid a shrimp tank of seed shrimp because they're pretty much made out of the same material and they don't do anything wrong with the aquarium. They're actually really good at cleaning up certain things like organics that break down. But if you have a ton and they're just really taking over, you could always just take one of your small fish like an inler or say one of these white cloud fish. Just even one male inler can go a long way with just cleaning those up. Keep them in there for like a week, pull them out, that way he can take the population down. All right, what is the hardest part of breeding fish for money? Don't the fish do all the hard work? Hardest work would just be, I mean, overall, you got to set everything up. You got to water change them. Really thing is making it profitable, worth your time. Because if you look at time and energy and money, you're not going to get rich doing this, so you're going to have to love it. Or at least enjoy it. To where it's not so bad. But I would just say setting it all up. And then having enough tanks. That's the hardest part, is having enough tanks, because each fish you breed, you're pretty much going to need 3 tanks for each type of fish that you breed. Because you're going to need the tank for them to grow out in, you're going to need the tank for them to breed in, and you're going to need the tank for all the babies to sell or whatever. So yeah, I would say having enough tanks, that's the hardest part. Which goes into the having enough space. Which we're gonna feed these guys and watch these barbs hit. It's always nice. Especially they got a water change today, so they're super hungry. We get on this side though, so we don't get so much glare. Or well, I thought. Well, that was a fail. Here we go. Thank you guys. Here comes the little cherry barbs. They're wanting a bit too. Oop. Oh, man, already splashing me. I just got splashed. They totally just posed me on this side. So they know I teased them last time. Really, that's... Whoa. Got any swordtails? I do have some swordtails. Need to add those to the website. I said I would a long time ago. Never did. I know somebody was waiting on them too. Got so much I gotta catch up with. But I've been catching up with everything. I've been getting pretty excited about getting everything organized here. Shoo. Did think about getting into pond building. Cause this, like I was saying, this is a nickel dime game. If you're trying to get into breeding fish for profit, you're not gonna become a millionaire. Unless you have like a huge facility and people running it and really managing it like a business, but then I think you get a lot of disconnection from it. So that wouldn't be for me. I couldn't do that. But ponds, I tell you what, building some ponds, you can make some money building some ponds. I know that because I tried to price them. I'm thinking, oh, I'll just build my own. And then I can learn how to do it for others. Maybe one day I'll become a certified aquascape master. Actually gonna check out Aquascape. They have the Pondemonium. I actually joined that. They're gonna have a bunch of videos that teach you how to do that stuff on aquascape.com. Free plug from my boy Greg Woodstock. These guys eat so much food. Do you still have half beaks? I do have half beaks. I got them in a couple tanks, and they've been breeding out in a 75 that's in the office. I got a bunch of babies. I haven't been messing with them. They need a lot of space to really breed out without eating each other. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Crazy fish. See, who says you can't have fun with the little fish? I like little fish. Boom. Get it, get it, get it. Boom. Look at these Synodontis. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Boom, boom, boom. Ooh, I almost knocked my can down. That would have really not have been fun. How often do I feed? Normally just feed once a day. If I'm trying to really breed them, I'll feed them twice a day. Boom. And if you guys notice, there's one fish that has a chunk out on him here. But it's the white mark. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to start throwing meds in here. As long as he's right there, he's got a little chunk. Probably jumped up, hit that or something, or on a rock, or hard telling with rainbows. Sometimes they can get pretty goofy. But as long as I'm not seeing any tufts or anything really growing on it, ain't no need to mess with it. Just water tonight to drink. West Coast Aquatics, do you feed special food for your plecos or just the tropical granules? So when I have plecos, I always like to make sure I have driftwood in. So I'll use the tetracolor tropical granules, but then they'll have the natural food source of the driftwood. Here you can see soft driftwood, and speaking of plecos, there was a ton of big bristlenose that just popped out of that piece of driftwood, which this was a soft piece that came from my backyard. I mean, it's so soft you can't get it to sink. It's actually tied down by a brick, but they will breed in here, eating off that. They used to be twice that size, if not bigger. I think there was another piece in here too. There's actually a bunch of little chunks of that wood in that tank from where they just eat on it and break it out and break it down. Good plant to grow plant-eating barbs. So crypts, anubias, anything with harder leaves, not your soft like stem leaves. Pearlweed, your faster growing ones. Mosses can actually be pretty good. And it helps if you can start with a bigger biomass. That way you can grow it faster than they can eat it. And if you do it right, you can use them like goats or cows and have them graze and trim up your plants for you. And yeah, it would give them something natural to eat. Now, if I were to throw guppy grass in here, these guys love some guppy grass. I'll feed it to them just as like a natural source of vegetables, which keeps them off my crypts. These guys are crazy though. There's some big barbs. What size is that mascara barb tank? It's 125 gallon long. All right, once again, sorry if I can't get all your guys' questions. I'm gonna have to hop off here and wait. Jose Gonzalez, that yellow and orange rainbow fish is the most beautiful I've ever seen. Did you get from Gary Lange, our exotic breeder? So the that guy, that's an albino millennium. So that's actually a xanthic form of the millennium rainbow fish. The orange ones are the males, the yellow ones are females, if that's the one you're talking about. But all right, I wish I could be on here for a lot longer, but unfortunately I gotta get to feeding the rest of these fish. I would really like to get my fry rack done today. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, but I would really love to. But I appreciate all your guys' support. I appreciate all you guys hanging out and smashing that like button. That would be awesome. And if you haven't subscribed, that would be great if you did, because there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. And I do know a lot of you guys are not subscribed but still watching. Help a brother out. I mean, come on, I've been trying to get to 50,000 for quite some time. We're really close, and yeah, exciting times ahead. I want to thank you all. I could not do it without you, and for that, I love you all. Thank you, and have a great weekend. Peace. Oh, wait.